Today we have with us the 2021 brand new Audi RS5, the top of the line performance variant of the A5. And in this video I'm going to be giving you a very detailed review of this car, talking about all the different aspects of this car. Styling, most importantly performance, features, practicality, comfort, and last but not the least the pricing and my verdict on the RS5. So without any further ado, let's get started. But before we start, I would like to tell you that we've already made a video on the RS5 in which we compared the RS5 to the Audi S5. So if you haven't watched that video, be sure to watch that video after this one as well. It gives you all the small little comparisons between the S5 and the RS5, and which I think is more value for money. But with that said, let's first start with this review and talk about the styling. Now, there is no doubt about the fact that the RS5 is a handsome yet a very mean, aggressive car. The front bumper of this car is completely redesigned and is much more aggressive than the previous one. You can see we have functional vents given on this car everywhere, which helps in the aerodynamics of the car, which is an essential thing when we come to talk about performance sedans. Now, if we talk about some details in the RS5, for example, the grille of the car is very subtle. It has the normal honeycomb structure that we get in the A5 as well, but we do have the RS5 badge given on that corner of the car. Now, there is one thing that I don't seem to understand. In the previous RS5, around the splitter of the car, you used to get the Quattro badging, very, very bold and clear, and that was one of the distinguishing factors of the RS5. Yeah, that yes, this is an RS5 on the road, and that Quattro badging used to give the car a very, very high road presence and looked very mean. Yet in this car, they've somehow managed to remove it. I don't know the reason why, because that Quattro badge used to look really, really nice. Now, from the side profile, the RS5 really looks like any other car on the road. It's very, very subtle, yet there are a few things in this car that make it stand out. For example, if we talk about the alloy wheels, we have a 19-inch alloy wheel design in this car, which is quite open because it allows more air to go inside the car to cool down the brakes in this car. So from a performance perspective, these alloy wheels do have a function, but from a styling point of view, I kind of think that the other alloy wheels that you get in this car as an option, the 19-inch alloy wheels, they are like seriously on the money. They look really nice, have a very mean look, and yet still have the open air design for cooling down the brakes. Those alloy wheels are the ones that I think you should go for. But nevertheless, these alloy wheels still do look nice. But coming to the side profile, otherwise you get the RS5 badge given on the front fender of the car. You have a slightly different color blacked out side skirt in this car, which I think looks really nice. And we kind of have that sleeked out look in this car as well, because it is the Sportback variant. And coming to my favorite side of the RS5, and that is the rear. This is where the car looks the meanest and the most aggressive. The rear diffuser in this car is absolutely gorgeous. The way that it's designed, we have the famous RS oval tips in this car, which obviously do give this car a really nice appeal on the road and give this car a very good road presence. The tail lamp design in this car is similar to that we get in the A5 and the S5, not very much different over here. But one thing that I do like is that the rear duck lip spoiler in the car, which is blacked out, really does look nice, and once again gives this car the necessary sporty characteristic. The rear by far has to be one of the best styled design of the whole car, in my personal opinion. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments down below. But with that said, now let's move on to the interior, which I think will surprise you. Talking about the interior of the RS5, first off, let's talk about the sporty character. Then we're going to talk about it from a family car point of view. So first off, the steering wheel of the car, Alcantara steering wheel, which is really nice. We have the RS logo given over here, and we have real aluminium paddle shifters given in this car, which is something that the previous RS5 did not see. So this is 5. From a sporty point of view, this is really nice. I would have although liked it better if they would have given a flat bottom steering wheel. I don't know why they haven't given it, considering the fact that they have given it in the S5 and not in the RS5 is a small little doubt that I have. But still, the steering wheel itself has a good fit and finish and is really, really nice. Something that also complements the sporty character of the car are the seats. We have leather seats, but then we have Alcantara inserts as well, and the RS5 embossing over here. You can see we have sporty bucket seats, which I really like, and they are a great combination to the sporty character of the car. But if you look at this car from a family car point of view, the interior is exactly the same as that we get in the Audi A5 as well, and the S5. So if you haven't watched those reviews, I will link those in the description down below. Go check them out. But what I mean to say is that if the interior is exactly the same as that of an A5, this car is a perfect family car, because the A5 had an amazing interior and this is the exact same one. What's also amazing that even the driver has heated steering wheel, which is absolutely insane. So the interior, build quality, everything is of very high quality, top notch, and I absolutely love it. And now coming to one of the best feature of this car, and that is the performance. Now, if we open the hood in this car, we actually get a 2.9 liter V6 engine, and you can see the turbos under there once we open the engine cover of this car, which we will later on. But this engine is capable of producing 450 brake horsepower with a maximum torque of 600 Newton meters. Those are bonker numbers for this car. And what does all of that equate to, you ask? Well, Audi claims a 0 to 100 speed for this car 3.9 seconds. But our friends over at CarWow, when they reviewed the car, they actually found out when they tested their car, even in the wet while it was raining, the car could do 3.9 seconds at that time through their timing gear. And if it has that much in the wet, I could only imagine in the right conditions this car doing even faster. Now the crazy thing in that is as well that the timing gear that the Audi gives in their virtual cockpit in this car, which is used for lap timing and the 0 to 60 speed with it built inside the car, that actually showed 3.8 seconds. So depending on which you actually believe in, the timing gear or the Audi virtual cockpit, this car is much faster than Audi actually claims it to be. Now, that's all about the performance figures, but if we talk about the mileage, well, first of all, the people who are buying this car, mileage is not a big concern to them, but still for the people who are curious, as it is the same engine that we got in the previous RS5 as well, numbers dictate around 10 to 11 kmpl on the road, which is not bad considering the fact that this car can produce 450 brake horsepower. But that's not all about the performance figures of this car. We have a few different things related to performance in this car, which we'll talk about right now. But as promised, if we put aside the engine cover in this car, you can see this is the actual engine, and you can see the turbo in this car as well. One great thing about the turbos in this car is that they're actually mounted within the center of the V6 engine, which actually means that it improves the throttle response of the car, considering that it is a turbocharged car, which is something that Audi has thought about, and I think that is really cool. Now, all the performance figures of this car are really great and they help the car. But one thing that a lot of people don't point out in the car, and I think is a small little drawback, not too large, but a small little drawback, is that the engine placement in this car is actually a little bit in front of the front wheels of the car. And that is actually because of the Audi all-wheel quattro system. Now, obviously the all-wheel quattro system does help the car performance-wise in terms of acceleration and all that stuff, which is really great. But because of the quattro system, the engine has to be pushed a little bit forward, which makes it a little bit front in the front wheels, which does put a lot of mass in front of the car, which can be a little bit of concern for a lot of understeer. Now, if we talk about other performance things in this car, for example, the suspension in this car is lowered and a little bit more stiffer so that you can have better cornering in the car. And as long as we're talking about cornering, if we talk about the brakes in this car, the brakes are actually helping in cornering. Now, what exactly happens? Let me explain. When you're cornering in this car, let's say, for example, you're taking a left turn. The left side front brake would nibble away a little bit just to apply a little bit of braking, which means that the car will turn left a little bit more, which helps in cornering of the car. These are very small little things that Audi has thought about while producing the RS5, and I think these are the small attention to details which takes this car to a whole new level. But if we are talking about brakes as well, we actually get drill rotors in this car, which is absolutely really helpful in terms of cooling down the brakes. In normal cars, in normal Audis, you do get ventilated rotors, which are good, and in 99% of the scenarios they will help. But the drill rotors means that Audi has even made this car capable of autocrossing events or taking the car on track multiple times, which is something that I think the RS5 is great at. Now, this car is equipped with Audi's infamous Quattro all-wheel drive system, which means that in normal conditions the car is capable of producing 40% of the power to the front wheels and 60% of them to the rear wheels. But depending on the condition, the car can actually change it to as much as 70% to the front wheels and 85% of power to the rear wheels, which is absolutely insane. That's how good the Quattro system in an Audi car is. Now, the RS5 is an insanely good car, and that is one thing that you guys must have understood up until this video as well. But what makes it even better is that this car is actually feature rich. And what exactly those features are, you can see those on your screens right now. Pause the screen whenever you like. But those were the features that you get in any other standard S5 or the A5 as well. But there are a few performance related features that the RS5 does get, and those are the exact features we're going to be talking about right now. So let's get into it. Alright, in terms of features, we're going to first off start with the steering wheel of the car. Now, one thing that was absent in the previous RS5 and is now present in the RS5 is of RS mode. Now, I actually wonder where they actually got this idea from. But nevertheless, we have the RS mode in this car, which means that you can just press the button and put the car into all the RS dynamics that you wanted. For example, when you press this button, you can see first off we're in RS1 mode. And what happens is that the tachometer gets larged, we have the power and torque meters over here, we have the G-force meter over here, all the things that a person might require while driving the car in spirited mode, all that happens on the screen. But you can press this button once again to go into RS mode 2. And what RS1 mode and RS2 mode is, that is you can actually change and configure both these modes from the infotainment display of the car. You go into Audi Drive Select and you can see we can change between RS1 mode and RS2 mode. So this is a great feature. One thing that was absent in the RS5 previous one but is given in this car. I really like it. But as we did talk about the display in the car, let's talk about this as well. The Audi Virtual Cockpit, I have said this hundreds and thousands of times, and I will keep on saying this, that this is the best display by far which a driver can get in a car. The way it works, everything is just top notch. I've done a very detailed review of the Audi Virtual Cockpit in a separate video, which I'll link in the description down below. Go check that out. Do consider the fact that that was a normal car that I reviewed. The RS has a different display, but the features remain the same. The only difference is that it does have a little bit of different UI, which means that the animations are a little different. The tachometer is in this L form and not in the circular form that you get in the normal car. Features are the same, just the representation has changed. But there are some additional features that you do get in this car, which I will talk about in this video. You press this button and go into lap times and lap statistics and acceleration measurement. You can see how your car has performed, like how much you've taken by in your first lap. You can change how your lap statistics have been, and you can also see the acceleration measurement of your car, that is from 0 to 100 speed and all that. This is something that is really helpful, especially if you take your car onto the track. This is one feature of the RS line that I really like. The second thing about the RS line that I really like related to performance is when you go into car and you go into the RS monitor. It gives you the real-time information of all the important things in the car. For example, what the real-time engine oil temperature or the gear oil temperature is. Right now it's blue, that means it's cold. Then you can go into warm, hot and overheated. So this is something that is really helpful for a person who is driving on track or going for a spirited drive. You can see all the G values of your car as well on this thing. This is something that was really not present in the previous RS5 but is in this car, and one thing that was not present in the previous RS5 and is in this car is the presence of this touchscreen and the new gen virtual cockpit. The RS5 did not have it but was in a dire need of it, because this makes the car feel so much more modern and is so much more better. I love the new interior of the RS5 and all the features that it has. Now, starting with the practicality, we're going to start with the glove box of this car, and as you can see, the glove box is very large. You can definitely keep a lot of stuff over here. For organization, we have this pen/pencil holder, card holder over here, 3-4 different coin slots, and there is a lot of stuff, so you can easily keep a ton of stuff in here. Don't worry about storage over here. Then moving to the center console, we have a space over here for keeping your mobile phone with a USB port over there and a 12-volt charging socket. We have 2 cup holders over here for the front seat passengers. Behind that, we have a closable storage cubby over here. Behind that, we have a special place for keeping your key in the car. And behind that, we have the armrest, which is actually adjustable, but you can also open it to reveal this massive storage cubby, which also has a Type-C port so that you can charge your mobile phone over here as well. The door pockets in this car are very helpful as well. You have a bottle holder over here and a place for keeping some magazines there. Coming to the rear seats in this car, you can see we do not have any seat nets, which is very odd, but still moving to the center console, you can see we have a 12-volt charging socket over here. And moving to the center seat in this car, once you put that down, you can see we do not even have some cup holders in this car, which is very weird, and we do not have any kind of center armrest storage. Now this is all something that is very weird and should have seen in this car, but still it is a performance vehicle, so we can let that slide a little bit. But one place we do have storage, and that is in the rear seats of the car. You can see we have a bottle holder over here and some storage over here as well. And now coming to one of the most important parts of our practicality session, which has to do with the trunk of this car. Now, there are 3 ways to open the trunk in this car. One is through the key fob, there's a button inside the car, and you have the request sensor of the car as well. Now, it is an automatic tailgate, and because of the Sportback design, the rear window of the car actually goes up with the car. But if you talk about the actual trunk space in this car, that is absolutely massive. We have a lot of trunk space in this car, which is even more than the BMW M4 and a lot more than the Mercedes AMG C63S. So in terms of practicality, the RS5 takes the cake easily. For organization, we do have a net over here, and we do have hooks on both sides given over here and on the other side as well. But in case you wanted a little more storage cubby from your RS5, well, you can easily do that by putting down the rear seats of the car. And that's how easy it is to put down the rear seats in the car, and you have a lot of trunk space in the RS5. So this car is practical, there is no doubt about that. Now talking about one very important part of any car, and that has to do with the comfort. Now sitting inside the RS5, first of all, the seats. A combination of leather and Alcantara inserts means a lot of grip on the road, because Alcantara really sticks to fabric. So that is one thing that is really nice, especially for a sports car. If you're going to be doing a lot of spirited driving in the car, these Alcantara seats are going to help you. And speaking of Alcantara, we have an Alcantara steering wheel in the car as well, with real aluminium paddle shifters. So talking about sporty driving in the car, the RS5 has well equipped with it. But if we talk about just the comfort, we have electronic seats in this car, which is as standard. We have an electronic backrest support in the car as well. We get massaging seats in this car as well, which is really insane. We have lumbar support in this car, and we also have the ability to adjust the amount of seat bolstering in the car, which means there is no kind of compromise when it comes to driver comfort. We also have a manual way of adjusting the steering wheel according to the driver. So all in all, I can easily say that going for a long road trip in the car, comfort wise, that's not going to be an issue. Now, when I get into the rear seats of the RS5, this actually blew my mind. There are 2 reasons for it. First, I have so much space. This is a sports car, and given that I am 6'2", I've adjusted the driver's seat according to me. I'm sitting in the rear seats, and 6'2" person still has around 4 inches of legroom. Talking about headroom as well, we have about 1.5 inches of that. That means that there is a lot of space in the RS5. I was not expecting that. The second thing is that we also have Alcantara inserted sporty seats even in the rear. This is something that I did not expect from the RS5, yet the RS5 has it. Which means that the same seats that you got in the front, we have the same exact seats in the rear as well. Granted, they are a little bit less bucketier, but still they have that same kind of shape, which I think is really cool. But because of the bucket type shape seats that we get in both the rear seats, The middle seat does have to pay for it, because that means that the middle seat of the car does get a little bit uncomfortable, and the massive transmission tunnel in this car does not help it at all, because which means I have to split my legs no matter what. I have to keep one leg on this side and the other on the other side. But overall, going for a long road trip, at least for 4 people, it's not going to be an issue. For the middle passenger, maybe a little bit, going for a long road trip may be a little bit of problem. But even for short trips, even in the middle seat, it's not a big deal. It's time to talk about the pricing and my verdict of the RS5. Now, at the time of the shoot, this car was not yet launched, so we're not sure with the exact numbers. But what I expect, it is around 1.1 crore rupees for the RS5, which is a lot of money. But the amount of performance features and stuff you are getting for it is kind of justified. But still, my verdict on this car would be that this is an absolutely fantastic car. It's a beast of a car which has a lot of power, feature rich, and is a perfect family car just because of its comfort and features, which actually blew my mind away. This car is absolutely amazing and is definitely worth the consideration. My final verdict on the car would still be that I would rather go for the Audi S5. Don't get me wrong, the RS5 is definitely an amazing car. And for the people who are looking for a stock car with amazing amount of performance, the RS5 is definitely for them. But for my personal taste, I would rather go for the Audi S5. And why I say that, you'll get to know that if you watch my RS5 versus S5 review. I will link that in the description down below. Go check that out, because that video really has some amazing eye-opening things about the RS5 and the S5. So definitely go watch that video as well. But as far as this video goes, that's all for this guys. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Comment down below what your favorite part about the RS5 has been. Share this video as much as you can, and a subscribe to the channel would be absolutely amazing, because it gives me motivation to create more such content just like this for you guys. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in this one.